Hi, I'm Lauren Hamilton, accountant for therapists. Today I wanted to talk to you about a routine that you should adopt for your bookkeeping so that way you can keep up with it all year round and it won't be so daunting at the end of the year. So, as I'm filming this, we're in the holiday season of 2025 and we're wrapping up the year. But hopefully, when you watch this, we'll be at the beginning of 2026. And, that's a good time for us to look at our processes and what we kind of want to improve for the year. So I really hope that that's what this video will help you with and how you can incorporate these routines into your weekly and monthly planning sessions. So, why does a routine matter? I'm sure it's not lost on you, but when you're in a routine, you do things automatically without thinking about it. It doesn't feel so overwhelming, especially when you're taking just little pieces of it at a time. Whereas, when it builds up during the year and then, either the middle of the year or the end of year, maybe you're still looking at your 2025 items. That just feels daunting and overwhelming. So as we have this routine, we can, take things in bite-sized pieces and make it more manageable during the year. So what I recommend for a weekly routine is going through either your QuickBooks or accounting system, however you're tracking your bank transactions, is going through there and coding those weekly. So, as you're spending things or deposits are coming in, just going in weekly and making sure that all of those are being categorized in the right spots. That also will help with looking at, if you had any mileage for the week. Did you have to go to, any meetings or anything for a client that is a business expense? Same thing with if you were traveling that week or anything like that. It'll just kind of help you keep up with those items since they're going to be fresh. The other thing that I recommend doing weekly is just looking at the things that are coming due. So, is your internet bill coming due? Do you have a quarterly payment that's coming up that you need to remember to set up? Those are always good just to look at weekly, just so that way you're staying on top of them. And that way there's not any surprises either. This is also just going to kind of help you plan just your cash flow, like how much cash do you need to have in your account to cover your bills, or if there's anything big coming up that you need to save for, and just being able to look at those things on a weekly basis. Okay, so those were some weekly things. Some things to do monthly is to look at your bank statements and make sure that the balances that are on your bank statements match what you have in your accounting system. So whether your credit card or bank statement, whatever that ending balance is for the month, just making sure that that balance matches what you have in either QuickBooks, Xero, or your spreadsheet, however you're tracking your items. And if it doesn't match, then that's a good time to go back and look at, were there any duplicates? Were there any, missing times or missing transactions that the bank feed might have missed? Or maybe the bank feed broke, which that should be something you're catching in your weekly routine too. But again, just at the end of the month, doing a final check of the balances and making sure that all of those are correct. Another good thing is to look at your profit and loss statement to see where your income fell, also how your expenses came out, and making sure that your profitability ratio is staying current. Same with, making sure that your taxes, estimated taxes are being calculated properly. So it's just a really good chance to just do a pulse check really on your business and just making sure that those numbers are making sense. And if they don't, that's a good time to reach out to your accountant or your partner, whoever you like to talk to about those things. And just if you have questions, those are a good time to bring those up. The hard part about, you know, when things come up during the year is bringing those to the correct person's attention. You never want them to lag too long because then it can become a costly item, especially if you're talking about estimated taxes. So if your income level has changed a little bit than what maybe you discussed at the beginning of the year, that would be a good time to let your accountant know that. Another good thing to do monthly is you should be in the habit of collecting receipts on items that are costing you more than $2,500. The IRS recognizes those as a capitalized item, and you should not expense those if it's over that $2,500 limit. If it's under that, then they can be expensed. And while a receipt is good to have for those items, it's not necessarily a big enough item to be worried about. But again, if you are someone that keeps up with your receipts, that's great. But at a bare minimum, you should be keeping the receipts for those items that are at that threshold level. The other thing that I've kind of alluded to is just looking at your taxes and looking at, are you setting enough aside for those? Again, do you need to kind of recalculate that, maybe adjust the number a little bit? So that's another good thing to do monthly. Okay, so looking at things quarterly in a year-end routine. So quarterly, you are going to be making those estimated tax payments. You will also just kind of want to look at your KPIs, or, kind of what we call in the accounting financial world, our key performance indicators. And all that really is are just some ratios. It's just taking the data that you've been collecting on your financial statements and just looking at, where those lie. Is that kind of where your goals are? Looking at, did your insurance go up that you weren't, planning on, and maybe you need to make some adjustments around some other expenses, or, maybe you need to see more clients or raise your prices or anything like that. So it's just another good pulse check to check on those ratios and just kind of see where you are in the quarter. Another good thing to do quarterly is just to think about your business in general. Like, are you still feeling happy with your business? Do you feel fulfilled with what you're doing? Do you feel burnt out? Maybe there's some things that you want to try, or new trainings, or, anything like that. So it's a really good chance just to kind of do really a more holistic check on your business and making sure that you are, still feeling fulfilled in what you're doing day to day. So year-end items are, 1099s, any that you might need to send out to contract workers like virtual assistants, or, assistant counselors, or anything like that, and getting that information. Again, making sure you've captured all of those receipts and just tying up any loose transactions and reviewing for correctness for the year. That's always a big item for the year end. And again, if you're incorporating these routines throughout the year, that really shouldn't be a daunting task. It should just be, a quick, maybe 20-30 minute, deep review of looking at your general ledger and just making sure that everything is coded in the proper expense categories. So that's just kind of a routine for bookkeeping in review. Again, I like to say, if you just put aside, 20 to 30 minutes a week just to do, looking at those weekly items that we discussed, and then again, probably setting aside another 20 to 30 minutes monthly to do the monthly. So, it's just making that intentional time to sit down and look at those items and make sure that everything is looking good and you're staying on top of it so that there's not any surprises or overwhelm at the end of the year. These are items that I like to help therapists with all of the time, and it's, my passion. So if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm always available for questions, and I want to help you where you are in your business and business journey. If you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe. I aim to put a video out every week to help therapists with their accounting, and I look forward to meeting you and meeting you where you are. Until next time, be well.